So we have some weapon previews from Capcom for Monster Hunter Rise, this one focusing on the bow as well as the dual blades. Let's go ahead and check them out. Hey everyone, Pinoy X here once again, back with another Monster Hunter video, and in this one we're gonna take a look at the weapons preview for Monster Hunter Rise regarding the bow as well as the dual blades. Now we're gonna take a look at both of these weapons in this video, get a better idea as to what's been changed between these weapon types, and get an overall understanding as to how we can use these weapons as we go through Monster Hunter Rise. Now remember, there is gonna be a demo coming up in January, so we are gonna be having an experience with these weapons and see what changes they have made with it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bow first and foremost, get a better idea as to how it's changed or how similar it is to that of Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. The bow in Monster Hunter Rise is pretty much comparable to that of Monster Hunter World's version because a lot of the attack patterns that we can see here are extremely similar to one another. We even have Dragon Piercer still here. Now there is a major change that did happen to the bow that was not present in Monster Hunter World, and that is in around Power Shot 3. Power Shot 3 in Monster Hunter World sends a bag in the air and then the bag would burst, sending out ball spikes towards the enemy in order to deal damage and even stun them. However, in Monster Hunter Rise, it seems like the bag is carrying a certain amount of powder that can either have varying effects on the character or even heal them. As we can see right here, this character more than likely received an attack buff because of the red aura, but the ally on this one received a green aura, meaning that they possibly got healed. So Power Shot 3 did have a major change on it. Not quite sure if this is going to be tied to the coating of the bow, that remains to be seen. But that is going to be one of the major changes that we can see on the bow. So now that we have gone through some of the attack patterns for the bow, especially the new one, let's go ahead and take a look at the Silkbind attacks very quickly. Silkbind works in the same way as that of Hunter Arts from Monster Hunter Generations and Gen Ultimate, meaning that there is going to be a time frame where you can't utilize these attacks. You can't keep spamming them, so you have to be very efficient with them. Now for the bow, there are two previews for Silkbind attacks. The first one is known as Herculean Draw. Herculean Draw allows you to draw more power out of your bow by utilizing the Iron Silk from the wire bug. So long as your arm is glowing with this iron silk, you will be dealing more damage than usual. So this is going to be your attack buff skill bind attack. The next one is known as Focus Shot. Focus Shot allows you to focus on the enemy and then evade their attacks afterwards by utilizing the wire bug in order to move out of the way. As you're evading an enemy attack, you're going to be recovering up your stamina, allowing you to bombard the enemy afterwards with even more attacks. So this is going to be one of those scenarios where you use the Focus Shot as a means of evasion and then continuing the bombardment of arrows towards the enemy. Overall, these Silkbind attacks are going to be very awesome in Monster Hunter Rise, and I can't wait to see more of them as we go through the demo coming up in January. Now moving on from the bow, let's go ahead and take a look at the dual blades in Monster Hunter Rise and see how this one has changed in comparison to something like Monster Hunter World. A lot of the attacks once again is based on that of Monster Hunter World, but this particular combo attack right here is very different from what we've seen in previous Monster Hunter games. I have never actually seen this, not even in Monster Hunter World or Iceborne, so this is going to be exclusive to Monster Hunter Rise and possibly future Monster Hunter games. Not quite sure how this one is executed as of right now, but it does look like a super awesome chain combo that we are about to get in Monster Hunter Rise that's completely different from previous Monster Hunter games. Now moving on from there, let's go ahead and quickly take a look at the Silkbind attacks because there's really not much to talk about with the dual blades unless we look into the Silkbind attacks. The first Silkbind attack that we see for the dual blades is known as Shrouded Vault. Now Shrouded Vault works in the same way as Adept style for the dual blades in Generations and Gen Ultimate, in that you avoid an attack, and as you're avoiding that attack, you're dealing damage to the enemy at the same time. So your evasion actually works as a counter attack instead. It's very interesting how they've adapted a hunting style to work like that of a Hunter Art. Now in Generations, we do have absolute evasion, but it doesn't allow you to counterattack the enemy when using the dual blades. So this is more inspired by a hunting style rather than a Hunter Art. Having said this, however, it still works like Hunter Arts in that you can't use it constantly and there is going to be a time frame before you can reuse these attacks. Now up next, we have what is known as the Piercing Bind. Now Piercing Bind is interesting in that it binds the enemy with the silk of the wire bug, and then as long as you're connected to that enemy, you're gonna be dealing extra damage. What this means is that so long as you're attacking the enemy, you're dealing a second attack to them. So one strike can count as two strikes, so on and so forth. eventually the silk bind will explode, dealing more damage to the enemy. Now, one of the key things that they didn't mention on the English website is that the more damage you do whilst you're binded to the enemy with piercing bind, the more damage the final explosion will deal. So this is going to be important for your damage output with the dual blades coming up in Monster Hunter Rise, and I can't wait to try it out for myself with the upcoming demo. And that's pretty much all we have so far regarding information on both the bow as well as the dual blades coming up in Monster Hunter Rise. What do you think about these new attack patterns as well as silk bind attacks for the bow and the dual blades in Monster Hunter Rise? Let us know in the comments below your thoughts and opinions regarding these new attack patterns and silk binds coming up for the new game. Now, with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.